I'll throw it back at the writer. I said, let me ask you a question. Where do you see this playing? Like, where's this going to be shown? And they said, I don't know. And I'm like, that's a problem. And it's obvious because what you wrote can be shown anywhere.
Courtney, you have a quote on your website that reads, "It's not how many ideas you have, it's how many you make happen."
Yeah. I heard that a long time ago. It was I was a kid. It was a financial, it was a company, it was a quote from a financial company. And I swear I was probably maybe 13 when I heard that. I'm like, that's true. Because a lot of folks have ideas, but they don't do anything about them. I have a lot of friends who, I wish I can write. I'm like, just go write. Like, there's a lot of content on YouTube. You can go to Film Courage. You can go, learn how to write. You can learn the process of how to do that. And so that's been a mantra of mine. It's like, I'm not going to sit down. I never want to be the person that says, I'm like 70 years old. Oh, I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have done that. It's like, no, just go do it. Go do it. And so, yeah, it's not how many ideas you have. We all have a lot of ideas. It's how many you make happen. And so that is something that I use to push me. And you do what you got to do to kind of push yourself. And I know who I am. I'm a competitive guy. I need those kind of quotes to kind of push me sometimes, because sometimes it is difficult to sit down and write and look at a computer and write something. And so I knew what I need to kind of push me through. And that's the kind of quote that helps me push through and get the projects that I want to get done.
It sounds like when you have a goal, though, there's nothing stopping you. I mean, I think back to the story you told me earlier that, you're taking the bus to sometimes two buses, places, you going to this audition, you don't know that it's Michael Jackson, and then you get it. That was your goal to work with him since you were a teenager.
Yeah.
That once you get that seed, that it's not going to be where it's going to be a coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Right.
You're going to really do it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. And I think that's the reason why I quit my job, my 9 to 5. It's like I did not want to have, I should have or I could have done this, because I know that, okay, if whatever the situation is, if I do this, so let's go back to 2016. 2015. And I decided I want to go to college to learn how to write and how to direct. Let's say I go through the schooling. In 2016, I'm done. I have my short film, and I don't get a manager. Okay. So now with, a year, 2 years, 3 years in, yeah, maybe I would have, again, because in between that time period, I was writing and then sending my resume out to maybe get back a 9 to 5 job because money was getting tight. I probably would have gone back to that situation there. But I would not feel bad because I tried, I never want to get to the point where I don't try and then regret that. I'm always going to try. And then if I fail after the trying, then that's different. But to not try at all, I think that's a travesty. And I think that's what a lot of people that, when they grow older and they sit down and they talk about, I should have talked to that girl. Or, I have those moments where I'm like, this one girl that I thought was just cute, I'd never talked to her. But then you find out that she liked you. It's like, man, I should have said something. Yeah, I don't want to go through that. I want to say, okay, I tried. I may not have succeeded, but at least I tried.
I know right now we're in this sort of term of the Great Resignation, and people are quitting their jobs to start their own business or whatever. And it'll just be interesting to see in like 3 to 4 years how many people stuck with that. And not everybody can do that. And that's the sad part. Not everybody has family that will help them out monetarily or a place to stay. And I can see how that would frustrate a lot of people. And I've read comments. One guy said like he regrets doing that, and then he got stuck being a temp in a certain industry, and he never got out of that. Yeah. I thought that was interesting because, yeah, it is a scary leap, especially when you're a little bit older.
Yeah, oh my God, it's terrifying. It is terrifying. Like if I was to sit here and tell you that everything worked out the way I wanted it to work out, I'd be lying to you. It was terrifying. And like I said, I know I've submitted at least 15 to 20 resumes out there for jobs while I was trying to hopefully, break into the system. in regards to making and directing projects. Yeah, it's terrifying. Um, you're right. It's a situation now where people are at a point where they are taking some chances with their careers, and they're not necessarily settling for what they would have settled in the past. And yeah, some people are going to get hurt because of that. Um, it's a tough one. You know, it's not for everybody. But I mean, they have to kind of search themselves and figure out, are they going to be happy with not trying, or be happy with trying and failing? And I'm okay with the latter. I'm okay with trying and failing. I've tried things and I failed at them. I've tried some businesses and I failed at them. You always learn. But the one cool thing about this industry is that it doesn't care if you have a degree. It cares. It cares if you are bringing something to them that they can sell. And so, going back to what you were saying earlier regarding, I want to do the Christmas movie my way. That's fine, but you're not bringing something to me that I want to that I can sell. I am the customer. The customer is always right. Give me what I want, and I will pay you for it. And that's how I look at it. I look at what's out there right now, what are networks looking for, and then I write to that in a way that allows me to use my creative, juices, but I write to what they're looking for. And that's kind of the way I do it.
And I know off camera we had talked about what I call women in peril, and then you said now it's women in power.
Yeah.
And that was news to me. I hadn't heard that. So thank you for letting me know that. But so they're also looking for stories like that where someone's escaping an ex-boyfriend or whatever, and then things again, it in the end it's always a good resolution.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So speaking of those women in peril, women in power, which somebody told me that that's what it's called now, so I use that now. Movies, Lifetime was built on that. There's networks that are built on that. Mar Vista Entertainment is Christmas and thrillers. That's how they make their money. In fact, they just got bought out by Fox, and so. We'll see what the mandate's going to be on a go-forward basis, but they used to be Christmas and thrillers. That's what made Mar Vista Entertainment, and it's a company valued at $100 million pretty much on those two genres. So, yeah, again, what do they want? So, yes, if you were to make either a thriller with a female lead, again, watch the thrillers on Lifetime and do something like that, but put a little spin on it, you'll sell those. Or a Christmas movie, you'll sell those. That's what they want. That's what you're going to go for. Now, things like HBO Max, or ABC, NBC, those are different situations, and it's a whole different ballgame with that. Like those, you're going to need to have a manager or an agent pushing for your project at that point. And those, those are lottery tickets. To be able to sell your TV show, your TV series to one of those places. I still write, for those in the sense of I haven't sold one yet, but I am writing projects that are specifically for those areas. And I think that's another thing to think about is before you write anything, to ask yourself, where is this going to sell? A lot of writers don't think about that business-wise. They think about, oh, I'm a writer. Let me just write. No, baby. Go ahead and figure out where you want to send this. Who's going to look at it? Where will it play? And everything is not a Netflix thing. Yes, Netflix has a lot of content and they need a lot more content. But, unless you have an in already at Netflix, it won't sell to Netflix. So, when you write something, think about where you want it to sell. And that will help you in reference to how you write something as well.
That's great advice. And even with the Christmas and the women in peril / women in power movies, you still have to have someone walk you in.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You can't just, mail it in cold. So
yeah. And I would say the same thing with, if you want to go to Netflix, like I do want to go to Netflix. Like I have a social thriller that's it's like The Shining meets The Skeleton Key, and it's a really fun script. I would love for that to go to Netflix because I want to be the director of that. And I know that they give you a little more leeway creatively as a director when you take projects to them. Um, how I'm going to get that into Netflix is probably going to be by looking at other similar types of genres that are on Netflix and then getting in contact with those producers to say, hey, look, I got something for you guys. So I'm going to use, I like to try to walk the talk. And if I say that that's, what a person should do, I'm going to try to do the same, techniques to track down a good producer to walk something in.
Right. So when I sit down with an idea, think about, if I really am serious about this, where will this sell?
Yes. Oh God, yeah. Otherwise, what are you writing it for?
Right.
It's like it seems like, yeah, I don't know. I don't understand why you would write something if you don't think about where it's going to sell. I mean, you can write something hoping that it sells, but then the question is where. You got to think like that, and I think that helps dictate how you write something when you know where it's going to go or where you would like for it to go. And now it may not sell there, but if you at least are writing with that mandate already in your mind, you're already ahead of the game. Because sometimes people will just write something and it's just like, okay. So I have a production company, and for a while I was looking at scripts because I was hoping to leverage my relationships to take these scripts other places to hopefully get them made, and with me attached as a director. And so I had some people send me some Christmas scripts. And it was very interesting because I was like, okay, who is the audience for this? The idea was interesting, but I'm like, okay, who is this for? And so I'll throw it back at the writer. I said, let me ask you a question. Where do you see this playing? Like, where is this going to be shown? And they said, I don't know. And I'm like, that's a problem. And it's obvious because what you wrote can be shown anywhere. And that's an issue. And I'm sorry that you spent, so much time writing 120 pages, but this won't play anywhere. So then I'm giving them advice regarding, look at who buys these projects in bulk. Look at what type of situation it is. Look at the story, the narrative, the characters, the arcs, and go back and write something that's more like that. And usually, I've never had one person go back and actually rewrite something that was more like that and then resend it back to me. Now, I don't want to do any more Christmas movies. I'm out of that business now, but I'm saying back at the time when I was, interested in producing and directing those, yeah, a lot of folks don't think about where it's going to play.
So an art film, some kind of like beautiful sort of mumblecore piece, is there really a network I can sell that to?
You tell me. What
I'm
network
not
would
sure.
you watch it on?
I don't know, except for the Sundance Channel or which would be great.
That's fine.
That sounds wonderful.
That's fantastic.
Okay.
Yes.
So if I know that's my audience, which is sort of other filmmakers.
Right there.
Okay.
Here's your audience. So please go make it. But don't expect to make it thinking that it's going to get anywhere else, anywhere. Maybe IFC, maybe. But yeah, you're not gonna. There's not a big audience there. So, I like to write for something that I know has maybe 4 or 5 different locations where it can land. It's already hard enough to sell anything. Why would you want to, shoot yourself in the foot by limiting the place that it can go?
Sure. And then do your research, find out what were their top films, and watch them and dissect them. Watch them with the sound off.
All the above.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that will make, again, we forget about the business piece of this. They need butts in the seat. They need eyeballs to look at this stuff. And so we want to make sure that we're giving them what they want because they already have millions of people that are watching their stuff. But, what made Squid Games huge was it was unique. It was different. And, they got it on Netflix through the South Korea situation. But, you can go back to Bird Box, unique stories, with interesting twists. So there's a world where that can exist. on a Netflix, because that doesn't play anywhere else. Netflix is Bird Box. Netflix is Squid Games. It doesn't play anywhere else. So, yes, it is this, but those producers at that level, they already had the into these, into Netflix somehow. Somebody already had the over there. And so if you're able to, convince a producer that already has an in, and you have the next whatever that is, really catchy, cool, product, then great, have at it. But like you said earlier, if it's going to be something that's like very art house, mumblecore, it's going to be tough.
Do you think the Blair Witch Project would have sold today if there weren't all these found footage? I realize there were different incarnations of it that have followed, but would that have been too edgy to sell to a network today?
Are we going with the mindset that all these other found footages do not exist, or do
Correct.
they exist?
All the other found footages have not followed, have not trailed it.
Yeah. I think it would have found a home someplace.
Still,
I
okay.
do. Yeah, because again, it's different. It's different. Yeah, I think so.
So you can write something different and original. I guess I get now that it's already been done, but
yeah. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that it's feel free to write something different and original. It's still going to be difficult to sell, as opposed to I know I need 70 Christmas movies. It's going to be easier to sell a Christmas movie. It's going to be harder to sell. You may sell the next Blair Witch Project or whatever the situation is, The Conjuring, whatever. But and even The Conjuring is you can look at that. I mean, the beats are similar to a lot of other movies as well. It was just the execution was pretty cool. It's you can sell your stuff, but it's just going to be harder. That's all.
Sure.
Yeah.
What if I say I want to write the next Tree of Life?
Ooh.
And so I don't want to do a women in peril movie or Power.
Do it. I say write whatever you want, but just understand that it may be difficult to sell because it's so specific. It's so not commercial. That's all I'm trying to say is just understand that there's a commercial piece, then there's an art piece, and sometimes the two don't always coincide. And so there's fewer buyers for this. Please write it, make it amazing, make it brilliant. It may sell. It just may not sell immediately,